Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Play With It with Cass Allen. We're still on the family thing, and today the topic is nurture. To put us all on the same page, by nurture, I speak to caring for, feeding, helping someone to grow, develop, protecting a person, helping to educate a person, things that generally come through parenting, mentoring, babysitting, and forming some sort of village. These are basically the channels where children are nurtured through their teachers, through their coaches, the after school activities, some of the older relatives that are in the children's lives. But from that 0 to 18, it's usually the parent that has the dominant role. And it still may be the case as the children turn into adults, depending on the relationship with the parents. Some can be very close, and the children count on their parents for guidance as they fly the coop when their wings feel a little clipped, if you will. Um, and not just parents, but all of the people that I mentioned tend to take a role on that I consider to be a form of seeding. Much as a plant gets water, love, attention, sunlight, and exchanges with people that are filled with love, adults require those same things. We need to be watered. Well, obviously, we need water to live. Love helps us to nourish ourselves. It's a form of nutrition for the spirit. Attention, a place to go and exchange ideas, a safe haven, a place where there's support. Um, Sometimes people need to be rescued, or sometimes they just need to be allowed to fall. Sometimes that's the very nurturing that a person needs. I believe, much like I may have mentioned before, when we're younger, we're crawling, and as we learn to walk, we try to stand up, and our parents are there, and a lot of times, as our legs get stronger, they have their hands out behind us, but they're not touching us. And as we begin to teeter and totter and go into a derailment, they help us out a little. They may nudge you to the right if you're falling to the left, or they put their hands in front of you if they see you about to bust your face wide open. Otherwise, they're basically just letting you do your thing, guiding you. Another form of nurturing is challenging the beliefs of the people around you and your family. Sometimes we can accidentally coddle, which is not nurturing. A lot of times with coddling, there is no growth. People are overprotected to the point where they're not developing at a speed that is more in alignment with autonomy. A lot of times when we are nurturing people, we think we're nurturing people, but we're not. A lot of times we think what we give people is what they need, and we miss the ball. Sometimes we're too impatient with people. We think, yeah, I helped, but you don't realize you were so curt that the message was missed because the person was caught up in the behavior and missed the message. Thinking about how you have a short temper with them, perhaps. Or, excuse me, sometimes you may think you are helping someone by ignoring them. Oh, just ignore her and let her figure that shit out when all they need is for you to come over and hug them. And not only do you miss the mark on your own, a lot of times people don't tell you what they need. So that's part of the problem here, too. But we'll get into that in a minute. Our short tempers a lot of times may cause people to clam up. They don't want to come to us anymore. Obviously abuse, all that stuff that we've talked about in the past on those realms, physical abuse, mental abuse, um, can cause a person to clam up too, where they don't want to come to you to be nurtured. The point here, in order to be a nurturing soul, you must be a safe haven. If people don't feel like they can come into your haven, there's no way you can even be allowed to nurture them. As we work with our family members, a lot of times we have such impatience. I can't stress this enough. When I watch how people act in situations with their family versus the co-workers, their friends, the other categories in their lives, a lot of times that's one of the big differences I see. That we're so lax with the people that are the closest to us that we share our spaces with, that we grow up with, that know us, quote unquote, the most. I guess it's because we believe, well, we know in some cases that we can get away with that shit. Sometimes you're forced to live together. I'm going to see my sibling every day. Neither one of you can afford to pay rent anywhere, so it's not like anybody's going to say anything to make the other one storm off and leave. You can't cause harm to each other by pulling out because your parents are the ones taking care of everything. We tend to say off the cuff shit that we wouldn't say to someone that we think we might lose. I have to treat this person with respect, else they'll walk out of my life. He or she will walk out of my life when it's someone that's not under your roof. And like I mentioned, the people outside, we don't see that much. So they don't get on our nerves as much because they're not in our vicinity as much. So we have to remember to take the time to look, as I've said before, you have to look at your family as strangers, not just to decide if you like them, but the way you treat them. Remember, you can always lose anybody in your life, whether it's family or not. You know, some of you are very blessed, so you've mishandled your family members and they still have your back and they're saving you from shit that you probably don't deserve to be saved from that person. Take the time to look around you, see who you value in your life. Think about the things that the people around you need, the things, not what you can give them. Think about what they need and then see if you can fill some of those spaces with the things that you can give them. On that note, this has been Cass Allen on Play With It. Have a good day and have a good night.